Hello everyone, welcome to Worker Testing Tools. And in this session, we are going to talk about Day 6 REST Assured API Testing with Java Programming. In the Module 6, we are going to talk about first request and response specifications in REST Assured. What is request and what is request specification and what is response specification? And here is the content you go. Request specification object and response specification object. And what is the reusability of specifications of these two specifications? And finally, we'll talk about the global configuration for request. First, what is request specification? The request specification is a reusable object that set up common request configurations like base URI, header, authentication, and content type. So it is used across multiple requests in REST Assured. The main purpose of the request specification is to configure your request information details. Like example, if we want to automate in a REST API, we need a base URI is compulsory. The request API is compulsory. And what type of header it is. And what is, do we have any authentication for your REST API? And what is the content type? So this is the pre-configuration to set up into your request specifications. So those kind of details we can configure in the request specifications. Why do we use it? To avoid repetition of request setup code. That means, no need to give this request. REST assured.base URI is equal to your URL, endpoint URL, and also no need to add the headers, no need to add the authentication type, no need to add the content type every time in your request, in your test method. Okay. You just have to add one time and you can reuse them across all your test scripts. Okay. We'll see that practically how it is going to be. But before that, why do we use this? To avoid the repetition of request setup code and to make code more readable and modular. And this is the example for your request specifications. Request specification, when you create an object for the request specification, RESPEC is equal to given dot base URI, and this is the endpoint URL of your REST API, dot header, content type, and application JSON. This is a one-time configuration, you're doing it. No need to add every time in your test method. You just have to call this request specification object to your test method as a spec, and you can use that. And we'll see the response specification. We'll see this request specification practically, but before that, we'll talk about what is the response specifications. So response specification in REST Assured is a reusable set of common validations. That means it is for validation purpose. After testing the endpoint, request, we are getting some informations like status code, response time, and content type, or JSON structure. So whatever the validations you want to do it against the API endpoint, right? So those are the assertions we are going to add in the response specifications. Okay, this is for validation purpose, and it helps avoid code duplication when validating multiple responses with the similar expectations. And why do we use this? To validate the response format and content uniformly and encourage the assertions reusability. So we no need to add every time assertions in each test. You can just simply define only one time, and you can use across all your test scripts with the defined request or response specifications. We'll see this practically so that we can understand very easily. And this is how the response specification object expect is going to be a session dot status code of 200, content type application JSON, time, within the time less than 3000 milliseconds. Okay, within the 3 seconds, it has to be loaded. So first request specification is for configuring the request information, like example, base URI, headers, authentication, and content type. Okay, in the response specification, we are validating the response status code, response time, content type, JSON structure. Right. So how do we reuse of these two things, request specification and response specification, okay, in one test? If you see this, right, so we are going to create a separate spec builder class. Okay, there you define two different methods. One is request spec and response spec. So these two methods we are going to use across all your test scripts. If you see here, this is one method which is returning the request specification, and this is returning the response specification, correct? So how to use this? How to use this in your test method? So get user test given dot. We have to use a special method called as a spec. Okay. In the spec, we can call this spec builder dot request spec. Okay. Dot when get object. This is the resource URL 7. Then you have to verify the response status code, correct? Response status code as well as the content type. So you can use dot spec spec builder dot response spec. So this is going to verify the response code as well as the content type, right? And what next? Finally done. So this is how we can use, okay, in your test, the request and response specifications. Now, how do we do it at the global configuration level? So we can configure global settings, okay, like this. We have the before class method, and the setup method, we are defining everything else. Okay, if you see here, RestAssured.base URI is equal to, this is the base URI, and request specification is equal to, request spec is equal to new request spec builder dot set content type application dot content type dot JSON dot build. Then RestAssured dot request specification is equal to request spec. And how do we use this in the spec? We have another separate class that is called spec class. This is a spec class. In the spec class, we are going to define a new method that is called request spec. New returns request spec builder, and this dot set base URI, and this is the endpoint URL. Dot set content type of content dot type dot JSON, add headers, custom header, and test header. You can use like this. And public static response, this is the response specification. This is the response spec method. Hit a new response spec builder dot expect status code is 200, and you can verify the content type, and finally it should be loaded within the 3 seconds to build it, right? But how do we utilize this in the test case? Global level 1, you can say, so there is a one test method, public void get user with the specs given dot spec dot request spec dot when dot get, this is a resource URL dot then, this is the validation dot spec dot response spec, then body of ID, the response response body, we are verifying it ID, which is equal to 7. You can also verify any other response body key values. Okay, so this is a Java code, RestAssured code to validate the post method with the request and response specs. But before verifying this post request, right? So first we'll go and implement the request specification and response specification. Let's jump onto the Eclipse. I'm going to create a new class here. Okay, that is called spec builder, or we can say I'm going to create a spec builder class. In the spec builder class, I will have 2 different methods, as we discussed before: public static request specification, control space, which is coming from the io.restassured.specifications, and this method request spec enough, and which is going to return give a dot base URI. Do we have any base URI? I think we need to add that import, right? So let me add these imports anyway. I will add this import. Yes. Base URI. And then here you can pass your REST API URL. Let's go here. Where is the REST API URL? Here you go. Copy this. Do not copy the entire one. You can copy till here. Object 7, we can remember, no problem. Yes. What next? After this base URI, right? So you can add the headers, and the content type, right? It's a content type, content minus type, and it should be application JSON, right? Enough. And what about the response one? Response specification is going to, this is only for configuring the base URI and headers. Okay, you can also have the authentication if you have any authentication for your REST API. As of now, I'm going with the basic one. Okay, public static void request, sorry, response specification, right? Response specification, control space, specifications. It's not coming up, right? Response specification. Okay, no problem. So I will have to do one thing. Just copy this, paste here. This is the response specifications. Response specification, so that it will come here. Yes. Response spec. Enough. I'm sorry. This is not going to be void. Yep. And returns, which is written given, is not given. Written a new response build array. Sorry. Response spec builder. Response spec builder. Where is the spec builder? Yes. Response spec builder. So in this class, we'll have the bunch of methods. Those are expect the status code, expect the status code as a 200. So as example, if you want to pass a different status code, you can also pass a guess. Okay, example here int status code. Like this also you can pass it, no problem. No problem. Yeah. And then dot expect the status content, sorry, expect content type, right? Content type. It is going to be application JSON. Application JSON. And then finally we are building it. It's a build. That's it. Saved. So if you want to pass hard-coded value here 200, you can do it. But when we use sometime it's going to be 201 or 204, right? So it's going to be random one. It can be a random value. We can pass it at the time of using this. So this is a predefined spec builder, right? So how do you implement the actual test? Right click. So you can say test case, rec, res, specification, test. Finished up. Right. So there you go. So you can write the test method here directly. Test method public void example get object. This is the method, get object method. Okay. All right. So get object method, you can directly call it. No need to call the RestAssured dot base URI is equal something like that. Dot given dot. So given anyway it is not coming right. So you can copy paste this one. Paste here. Given dot spec. We have to add the spec here. Okay. So it is coming automatically here. Spec builder dot request spec dot when dot get. What is the get URI here? Here you go. This is the one. Copy this and paste here. Right. Then after getting this URL, then you have to verify the status code, right? So you can use the spec of response, right? I mean spec builder dot response, spec builder dot response spec. You can use the value here. Okay, you can use the value, whatever the value you want it here. Okay, I'm just using 200 here. Okay, I'm just using 200. That's it. Okay, so if you go and run this and see, it's passing. Okay, but if you want to see the logs and everything, you can, right, how to print the logs here, log.all. And here you go, you can also log.all. Now you run this. Now you'll see the logs clearly. Yes. See, with the response body is coming properly. See this? Yes, perfectly is coming. Right. So this is how you have to implement the spec builder with the request specification and response specification. Now you remember, right? Request specification is for configuring the headers, configuring the base URI headers, as well as authentications and params, query params or path parameters. Okay, this is for the request specification. Response specification is for validation purpose, assertion purpose. You can verify the JSON body, or maybe you can verify the status code. You can verify the content type, etc. Like this, we can use this example. And let's see. Let's go with another example. Let's go with another example. How do we do this? Global configuration for this request. Okay, global configuration will do that. So for that, okay, I'll do one thing. I'm going to create a new package inside this main class com dot restassured dot API dot base page. Or we can say base class. Okay, base page enough. Base is enough. I'm going to create a new class here. I'm going to create a new class here. Yes. And here you go. The new class is example base page. Base page. Or you can say base is enough. Okay, base is enough. In the base, what I'm trying to do, I'm just not doing the setup in the before class. If you really know, if you really understand this, what I can say, I'm sorry, I should not do in the main one. Okay, I made a mistake. I should not do in the main one. I have to do in the, okay, let me remove this. Let me drag it here, paste here. Yes. Yes. Yep. Now we can call this base class public void setup. This is for the request setup, guys. Okay, request setup. So how do we do this? Rest assured dot base URI is equal to, and here you go. This is the base URI. Till here, base URI. Remove this. Yes. And after this, we are going to declare request specification object. Okay, request specification object. Specification. And we have the request spec is equal to new request spec builder. New request spec builder. Yes. So we are just created the object for the request specification to request spec builder. And here we can add set content type. Set content type as, right? Always application content type is application JSON most of the times. Okay. Right. And what next? Then we can build it. Dot build. Enough. And if you want to assign this to request specification, you can do like this. Rest assured dot request specification request specification dot, is equal to this object. Simple. Done. I'm done with the base class. So this is base class is done. If you want to parameterize this also, you can parameterize. I'll explain this in the future class. How to get this endpoint URL from the config properties or config files or maybe any other files. Okay, how to read that, I'll explain in the future classes. All right, let me go ahead and create a new class here. That is called spec class case. Okay, this is a different concept. Okay, spec, it's a specs. That's it. In the specs class, so I'm going to define same way. Okay, but it's a little different. Okay, the same concept, nothing much. Public static request specification request spec enough. And this is going to be written something else. Yes, it is going to be written this right request specification. So return new request spec builder. And here you can add the content here. Dot set base URI set base URI, and here you can add the base URI here. What is the base URI? Copy this base URI. Yes. Okay. And that, and set content, and content is content type is application JSON or content type.json. Content type.json. Right. And then we can add the headers also. Headers, add headers, and here you can say custom headers. I'm adding custom headers, custom minus headers, and this is going to be, I'm just using only test header. Okay, test header. That's it. And after that, simple build it. Done. This is for request specification. What about the response specification? Public static response specification. This is called response spec. Same thing as return new response spec builder. Here request spec builder, here response spec builder, guys. Spec builder. Okay. Dot expect the status code, right? Status code. You can pass the 200 here, or you can pass here also, no problem. Okay. So I'm going to pass into status code and status code. Yes. And after that, you want to add some assertions types. Okay, like content type, expect the content type. Here, content type.json. Simple. Content type.json. That's it. And if you want to add any other expectations, like example, this should be this request, response should be loaded within the so and so time limit. You can also do that. Expect the time limit. Response time. And here you can add less than 2000 milliseconds. Dot bit. That's it. And what is the, if we want to fix this less than, we can add this hamcrest import. Yes, it's gone now. And what is this? Request specifications. Yes, response specification. Done. Perfect. So 2 methods are created. Now, how do we use this in the actual test? The actual test. I'm going to create a new one that is called the test case 1 with the global configuration request res spec. Right. Now we can add the test here. Add the test public void get object. Right. Now we can add simple, okay, given dot, or we need to add this import, right? So copy this. Yes, given dot, and here you can add the spec gets spec of, and here specs dot request spec. Simple, same way, same concept. Dot when dot get of your URI. So you can say slash objects 7. Same thing here. Whatever I use here, object 7. Okay. Then after that, we have to verify the status code. Am I right? So here then dot spec of, and here specs dot response status code is 200. Dot, if you want to verify the body also, you can verify it, no problem. So body, what is the response body here? ID is equal to, I'll go with the name, no problem. Okay, I'll go with the name. So here I can say name, and here I can go with the name, guys. Okay, after this, if you want to do any kind of logs, right, you can do this, no problem. I think I made a mistake here, something called some mistakes. I'm sorry, this is equal to, right? This is equal to. Okay. So equal to also, we need to add hamcrest matches. Where is that? In the sample test, you can see this. Yes. Here you go. I'm got masses. Yes. I'll go here, remove this, copy this. Yes, it's gone. Log all. Semicolon. That's it. Now you can run the test. It's failing. We'll see what is the reason for that. Okay, it is giving 403. No problem. We'll see what is the problem. We'll see what is the problem here. 200 should be, but it's giving 403. If you go to the request spec, right? So any special thing is there? No, it's all good. Should be less than 2 seconds. And the status code is good. It's all are good. And what about this? Object 7 is the same. Object 7. Yeah, it's good. Objects 7. And I'm not getting this name. And if I comment this, what happens? We'll see. I don't think it is going to be a problem that. So don't change much. So we have the set content type.json, add header, custom header, test header, and build. And this is the endpoint. Yep. Expected content type.json, less than 2 seconds. Fine. Let's come back to the test method. A given dot specs dot the spec request spec. Yes. Dot when dot log dot all get object 7 dot then specs dot response spec 200 status code dog dot all. Yes. Now it's going to go on run it. Yes. Now it is working fine. So it is giving the proper response here, and the validation is working fine. Now let us do some validation here. After this response, right? So after this, I can go ahead and body here, name, which is equal to I need to add that ham custom matches. Copy this. Yes, paste here. And here you go. You can add that response value here. Yes, name is equal to Apple MacBook Pro 16. Let us go and verify this. Yes, it's working fine. It is working fine. You can also verify the name and everything here. Okay, if you want to verify the CPU model on right, so how do you validate that? So it is there in the data key, right? So data dot CPU models. I don't think it will work with the data dot CPU models. We have the different JSON format. We have to set it up. Data dot CPU model. So it won't work with this value. I mean, with this JSON path, we have to give the different format. I'll show you that. But anyway, I'll try this. Okay. Let me check it out. Okay. I have to use equal to, right? Equal to bracket close. Now run this. It should fail. It's failing. I'll tell you the reason why. Okay. The CPU data.cpu model, it is not properly. I mean, the path was not there properly. Okay. So how to get the JSON path correctly for your response? I mean, request response. Okay. Let's go here. Where is the response here? I don't see the response here. Okay. Don't worry. Go back to your application once. Copy this. If you want to get the response, I mean, the JSON path for your response body, can go to this URL JSON path viewer. Okay. Second one, JSON path finder. Just paste here and click on the data. Click on the year. So if you want to verify the year, right? So data dot year is ignore this X dot and just take the data dot year. Okay. If you want to take the price, data dot price. But when you come to the CPU model, right? It is like this data of bracket in the double quotes CPU model, because it's a string value. Okay, it is a numbers only, decimal numbers and numbers, numerics, but strings it is like this. Copy this. Now it should come down. Yes. Now you call it. It should work. It is passing now. Okay. So this is how you have to verify your body content. Okay. Right. Now let us do one thing. Can we go ahead and verify the post request, guys? As of now, we did it only for the post. I mean, get request, right? We'll do it for the post method. Okay. I'll go and create a new one. This is for post request underscore. This is for res spec validation. Okay. Yes. Right. Let's go here and we can check it out. Okay. First thing. First, we'll go and create the test method. Okay. Public void. And what is the what is the request you're going to validate here? Let me accept this one. Add object, right? Add object. And this is your endpoint URL, correct? This is the endpoint URL. So how do you manage this endpoint URL, guys? Okay. Again, this is going to be a question, right? This is going to be a question for you guys. So how do you manage this? This one you have to add it where exactly? In your spec. Oh, same thing is there. No problem. Yeah, same thing is there. The only thing you have to change in the get, only you have to add the object. That's it. Not 7. Okay. Only object you have to add it. And it is going to be post method. Right. Public void and create an object. What is it? Create a product or add object. Add object. Add object. Perfect. Right. So okay, what is the first thing? Given dot spec, right? Given dot spec. Oh, again we have to add the rest assured imports. Yes. Dot spec, right? Spec. And here spec builder, right? Spec builder. I mean specs dot, sorry, specs dot request spec. It is going to take this data, either setting, pre-settings, okay? Pre-configuration kind of things. Dot body, right? I'm sorry. Dot body, we have to set it. Body. But where is the request body here? Request body is not there. So better to create a request body here. String request body is equal to copy this, paste here. Enough. Done. And what next, guys? Okay. So this is done. Given dot spec dot body we are calling here, and dot when then usually after when we are going to call either get request, post, put, patch, right? So we are going to use the post request. So post request here. What is the sub URL here? Objects only objects. Copy this slash objects. That's it. After post, right? So if you want to verify these status codes and everything, okay, dot then dot. So we have the spec, the specs dot response spec. And here you can mention 200 or 201, whatever is there here. See, 200 is there, right? And what next? If you want to verify the body or something else, you can verify it, no problem. Body. And here you can say, you can use example name. I can use a name. I'll do one thing, 16, I can say 14 Pro. Copy this. Yes, it should be equal, right? It should be equals. Equals. I should add again matches. Yes. Equal to. And here you go. Copy this. Paste here. Correct? Yes. After this, if you want to add something else, I want to add a hard disk size or something else, you can do this. Where is the hard disk? Yes, hard disk. Yes, I can take this 1 TB dot body, and here 1 TB. 1 TB. Copy this, paste here. Finally, log.all. I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. Equal to. Perfect. Log.all. Done. I'm done with the post request, guys. Okay, let me go ahead and run it. We'll see how it is going to work. Yes, it's passing now. So this is how you can validate the post request. Okay, this is how you can validate the post request. All right. Okay, perfect. So you can go and verify the different type of test. Example, testing with the query parameters, testing with the parameters, testing for the headers, bearer tokens, authentication, and what you can say, um, test any logging request kind of things. Okay, you can test multiple scenarios by using the request spec and response spec. So now again, I'm repeating this request spec is for the configuration of your headers, authentications, content types, query parameters, path parameters, etc. like this. Okay, that is what. So base URI, content type, headers, okay, query parameters, path parameters, authentications. Authentications are multiple things like basic authentication, digest auth, bearer token. There are so many types of there. Okay, that I'll discuss in the near future classes. And response specifications to validate to the response status code and response body related stuff. Okay, so every time no need to add this stuff. I mean, like setting up the base URL, setting up the status code and everything. So you can simply call the spec and use this information. Okay, that means that this way we are managing the code reusability. Okay, hope you understand this session. So we'll meet in the next session, guys. Until then, bye.